What's a dark secret questionable practice in your profession which we regular folks would know nothing about? There is a problem in substance abuse treatment in the United States called body brokering. Substance abuse treatment can be very expensive and insurance companies pay a lot of money for a patient to be there. Treatment centers will hire body brokers to find addicts with the best, highest paying insurance and entice them to check into the specific center. The treatment center then gives the broker a commission from the insurance money. This can go as far as body brokers literally putting more drugs into the hands of some addicts before they come in. See the higher level of drugs in your system upon admit, the more and longer the insurance company will pay to the treatment center. Brokers will also hire other addicts in a pyramid scheme type way to check into the treatment center, make friends with the other patients, and upon discharge encourage relapse so they come back to treatment. Pretty much all the high-end handmade in Australia jewelry in Australia is made at a secret factory in Bali. All the clients have to show an established business and sign confidentiality agreements. Have you ever started filling out a form for a quote on something, insurance website, or literally anything, and then changed your mind and said, "Nah, I don't want to give them my personal information," and then abandoned the form before pressing submit, if you think that stopped them from getting your personal information? It didn't. Most companies looking to capture leads will capture your info in real time as you enter it into a form. The submit button is just there to move you to the next step, not to actually send your information to the company. Customs broker here. Every day hundreds of thousands of containers and air shipments arrive into United States territory. The volume of customs entries entered every day is staggering. When we get licensed to be a customs broker, we are trained and tested not just on knowledge, but ethics. We even take a pledge to partner with CBP to uphold the law, and cooperate with them should we come across anything suspicious. Why so much emphasis on this? Customs can't actually screen everything coming in. I'm oversimplifying, but CBP basically works on the honor system. You file an entry saying what the shipment is, and they just take your word for it and release it. This happens hundreds of thousands of times a day. Maybe at best customs can screen 3 to 7% of what's coming in. The rest are just waved through. Former British customs officer here can confirm, the amount of international trade is staggering and no government is able to do a 100% inspection on all the freight that arrives. So we rely on past history, shady customs brokers included lol, Intel, etc. to target our efforts. And no, I'm not going to divulge anything more, so don't bother asking. So, yeah, smuggling happens, whether that's goods, drugs or people, but when we do find something, expect the world to drop on your head. Government wants its revenue, boys and girls, and it doesn't like being cheated of them, or finding 30+ dead people in a shipping container, at all. You know, the people who write instruction manuals or user guides in things you buy, half the time, they've never even seen or touched the product. Some dude just sends us pictures, a rough description of how it's supposed to work, and that's it. ETA, wow, this took off. To all the IT dudes of Reddit, I actually browse the brand-specific subreddits to figure out what to add to my user guides because that's how little info my company provides me. Thanks for making my life easier. I work on a popular teen TV show. All the lead actors do cocaine regularly and they often come to set high or show up to set late because they chose to party on a Monday night. People always complain that Disney, in example, always hires old as fuck people for their roles. I mean, would you hire a teenager for a show that might either have a pilot and one season or maybe run for years if it's successful? I mean, would you really? You don't remember when you were a teenager all the stupid shit you did? Now add fame and income. Not currently my profession, but ghost writers in fiction. John Grisham, Danielle Steele, James Patterson, Janet Ivanovich, etc., all those big names with an NYT bestseller every year use ghostwriters who are never credited or mentioned. It's barely even a secret. If it has to be accessed regularly in an IT setting? It's not secure, not unless you're in an industry that actually polices it. Yes, people are dumb enough to pick up USB thumb drives they find on the ground. The nicer and newer it is, the more likely it'll get plugged in. Also, if you're looking to verify the security of your vendors, don't announce your visit. At a very large pizza chain restaurant that remains widely popular, we had these perforated pans for thin crust and stuffed crust pizzas. They'd get washed in the dishwasher by the hundreds per day, and at least half would still have burnt cheese and shit on them. Well, they were just stacked to dry. When making new pizzas in those pans, sometimes the pans that were left to dry overnight grew bits of mold around the burnt cheese. We were told just to put the dough on top because otherwise we'd never keep up with the orders if we rewashed everything. The manager said, "Don't worry, it gets cooked." Minor league baseball, all minor league sports, the attendances figures are bullshit. And I don't just mean, they announce tickets sold instead of butts in seats. No, they just make it up. Teams purposely inflate attendance figures to attract sponsors. A lot of the time the engineer you talk to about your project, and decide to trust with it, delegates it to cheaper contractors as soon as you sign the paperwork. Their job is new business. Sometimes librarians read the new books before registering them in the catalog for the public. Evil laughter edit. Wow. I did not expect to get so many upvotes and comments for something I wrote randomly at lunch. But very much appreciated. Thank you. And thank you for the awards. I don't think this is necessarily dark or questionable, but I feel like it would be frowned upon. Also, sorry for any mistakes. I'm on mobile. I work at a bookstore, major chain, and sometimes we have these things called strips. Basically, it's a book that the publisher wants off the shelves but doesn't want to take back. So we tear, or strip, off the front cover, log the cover, and throw the rest of the book away. And it's just not underground books either. I've seen it happen to popular books that we simply just have way too much of. Sometimes employees can take the cover-less book home, but most of them just get tossed. One time, I took over $1,000 worth of study aid, think ACT, SAT, AP, etc., books that were gonna be tossed, and donated them to my HS teacher that I still talk to. It's sad to think these books can still benefit people, but we can't do much about it. Sometimes we lick artifacts to quickly determine if they are bone or pottery. Bone sticks, pottery doesn't. And then tap them on our teeth to determine if they are pottery or a rock. Rock will hurt, pottery won't. Archaeology. Air traffic control. Cue the Breaking Bad jokes. A diagnosis of virtually any mental illness, and a diagnosis of many physical conditions, is disqualifying and will end your career. For that reason, people avoid doctors like the plague. It's like that in reactor department in the US Navy. 2. Undiagnosed and untreated mental illness. If it's not in your medical record, it doesn't officially exist and therefore as not a problem. Get treatment for your mental health problems? Now you're not allowed to do anything related to nuclear power anymore. And everyone hates you for not pulling your weight. That's why I didn't re-enlist. I've worked in fast food, and it is a sad reality that many workers will come to work sick because they can't afford to lose wages. One year, the flu was going around town, and I think our restaurant was ground zero. Padding paperwork studies to slow an auditor down. Every data point, all the minutiae of the calculations, unnecessarily dense explanations of statistical methods that go on at length with notes about distribution fitting. They, auditors, aren't usually very technical, so they stop at each spot along the way without realizing they can throw half the thing out. If you're good, you can balloon a 30-page document into 100 in a matter of minutes. Edit. I keep getting angry comments from finance people. Simmer down. This isn't about you. If you think it is, reread the post. Do you audit studies? Is distribution fitting relevant to you? Your industry does not own the term audit. Thanks. Many hotels often sell rooms multiple times. Used to work in airport hotel. Knowing that chances are some guests won't arrive due to missed or delayed flights, so we sell more rooms that we have. You have guests checking out from 2/3 am due to early flights, so even though the room is technically still theirs, you quickly and sometimes poorly clean the room and tell the arriving unexpected guest or new booking there's a random computer issue and to wait 20 minutes and then check them into the departed guest's room praying. Multiple times I've had to run a kettle under a cold tap to hide the fact the previous guest used it 15 minutes before the new guest arrives. How many people who work with children, teachers, childcare workers, etc., don't follow confidentiality guidelines, gossiping about families with coworkers, talking about children's home situations, creeping families' social media, etc. I work at a theme park and we use codes with number for situation that could happen in the park to not create panic. We also use codes for some category of people. Like a code 25 means there's a fire. Code 20 is for mentally disabled people. We also use hand signals sometimes for some situations. Lots of performing musicians don't ever really get over stage fright. Many of them take beta blockers to help with nerves. Although it's less about the mental side of it and more the fact that you physically can't perform if you get so nervous that your hands are shaking. That's what beta blockers help with. You'll probably still feel anxious mentally, but any physical effects like shaking or sweating will be gone. Not really a dark secret, as there's not usually bad side effects of beta blockers, but I guess some people might see that as cheating in a way. Personally, I find it kind of inspiring knowing that lots of people struggle with the same thing as me. And there's a solution that isn't just, suck it up and deal with it. Caregiving is a goddamn nightmare in pretty much every setting. Seniors, developmentally disabled, etc. Few people are abusive or maliciously neglectful, but a disturbingly high percentage cut corners all the damn time. Lying on documentation, ignoring the 5 rights of medication management, failing to report medical, behavioral, facility issues, sleeping on the job. I could go on. Direct support professionals are paid near minimum wage, so you're not really getting the best of the best candidates. Plus they're often given inadequate supplies and support. The horror stories about nursing homes lacking basic sanitation supplies during the pandemic aren't surprising in the least. It can be a high-stress jobs in many situations, and I think that plus the poor compensation is used by many people as justification for slacking off. Which I'd be fine with if there weren't the risk of serious consequences for the people being served. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.